Welcome to Botox Cowboys episode something or other. It's been a long time, Andrew. We took a little bit of a break. Sorry, everybody. It was a nice summer though. What'd you get up to?
Man, it was pretty good. Lots of work, a little bit of travel. Took my pops out for his birthday to one of the nicest golf courses in North America, out in Cape Breton, and shot a million, but had a good time doing it. And now back just getting in the September grind, ready to go. How about yourself? What'd you do?
Well, I golfed with you, and I'm not surprised you shot a million with your dad, to be honest. Like self-proclaimed golfer, but it didn't look too good out there.
I knew you'd hammer on that first victory ever. Just gloat. Keep going.
What's your fall looking like?
Well, this is the time of year we really start gearing up for our training programs, and clinic work is certainly busy. More importantly, football season started. So week 1, that was awesome. I don't know if you watched the Bills-Ravens game. That was incredible. And Buffalo had no business winning that game. I'm happy they did, but man, Baltimore looked good.
I was so upset. My group chat was going crazy about how it was the best game of the season already, and I was flying for it. I missed it completely.
Matt, it was crazy. It had every element that, like, Buffalo was out of it, had no chance, couple fluky plays, just a couple boneheaded plays, and wow, can things change quickly. So it was crazy.
I love this time of year. So excited. Okay, well, let's get into it. It's been a long time, and the questions from the listeners actually came pouring in over the break. So I think we'll spend the bulk of this episode going over some of those. I'll just start. Number 1, this one's from Sadie. You mentioned startup costs being lower than dentistry. What are the hidden costs new injectors don't consider, and how do you advise managing them? Thank you, Dr. Dargy.
Really good question, because if you're starting your own practice, always go over budget. It's more than what you think. And no matter how many preparation lists you make, planning out your inventory, there's always going to be more. I think renovations, as we've briefly touched upon, this can be something that gets medical professionals into trouble. And timelines, budgets, finishings, there is the potential for large cost there. But I would say in terms of smaller things, accounting for things in a clinic like water bottles for your patients, or fragrances to make sure that the clinic smells good. Marketing costs beyond running Google ads. What are your business cards going to look like? What are your pamphlets going to be like? There are a number of things you need to consider when making your business plan, and a lot of it is the small minutia. And also, when you start thinking about devices and bringing those into clinic, that can be a very substantial cost. You can get, for instance, just take microneedling pens. You can get those off the shelves at Shoppers Drug Mart all the way up to $250,000 machines. And so you start adding these things, layering it in, and you want to offer more services than just, say, neurotoxin and filler treatments and maybe a bit of skincare, and the cost can burgeon very quickly.
No doubt. Promotions seems like something interesting too, actually. It's maybe not a hidden cost, but it's a hidden opportunity cost. You're in there trying to build your brand, you're giving out deals. So maybe you've maybe done your budget and you have X coming in, but then for these early stages here, you're kind of giving up a lot of that to create your brand. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think marketing and promotions goes beyond, just running your Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, as I mentioned. A lot of belly-to-belly marketing is important, whether it's hosting a sip and see event where you just educate patients, not necessarily even inject them, or things that you can do to get people in through the door and sampling things out, that it can add up very, very quickly. Really important and integral to getting things started. But I hope that answers your question, Sadie.
What about a dollar value if you're trying to think about water bottles, needles, fragrances, things like that you said? What do you think that can kind of add up to if you wanted to put in a line item for that on her budget?
Well, certainly we'll just take, my clinic in Vancouver. We have San Pellegrino and Perrier water, and for our membership clients, we have I would say, much more expensive beverages. We actually serve Bird's Nest. Can you believe that, Tyler? It's very
No
popular.
way.
Yeah, it's very popular in the Mandarin speaking community, and that's quite expensive. So we're talking tens of thousands of dollars for those things when you scale it up to a busy clinic over the course of many months. So, people can run it bare bones off the start and layer in, but, it's not just about buying a white eyeliner. You're going to need alcohol wipes to clean it off. You're going to need a sharpener. You're going to need garbage bags for your garbages. There's always more than you think, and things have a habit of wandering away in clinic. I'm guilty of being a great pen stealer, so you're going to need to buy a whole bunch of pens. That's for you, Sarah. I'm acknowledging that I take the pens, so I am sorry. But yes, Tyler, over the course of a year, these little things, like I said, whether it's candles, fragrances, these can add up to tens of thousands of dollars. And yeah, there's more to it than just simply, hey, I got a vial of Botox.
Yeah, fair. So even if you want to go skinny, you want to put in a couple $1,000 in there for junk.
I love that you just mentioned Skinny. Skinny Matt, we saw him last week. We have a bunch of Matts in our friend group, but Skinny is a legend.
How's he doing?
His forehead is very, very wrinkly at the moment. And his forehead, because I had done his forehead filler, it's starting to wear off. So he has got that Neanderthal brow. Shout out Skinny. It's time, buddy.
Okay, next question from the listeners. This one is from Darcy. It says, if I get this stuff and pass out mid-injection, do I wake up hotter or just confused and slightly broke? I'm only sort of kidding.
Well, it is relatively common. I'd say maybe once a month we have somebody pass out. At least if you're in my clinic, you will wake up with an exceptionally good treatment and not slightly broke because we've negotiated the price before you get your treatment.
Do you keep treating them if they pass out so that you can get it done while they're unconscious?
No. I was going to clarify that point. So when someone's out, we do not inject them. Poor form. Although I did hear about a training program at one point who was teaching procedural sedation for lip filler, which is the craziest, could be the dumbest thing that I have ever heard in aesthetics.
Instead of just freezing them?
Instead of just a topical freezing, let's knock them out for a simple lip filler procedure. It's crazy. But when people pass out, we just lay them back in their supine, sometimes lift their legs up. But before that, there's signs. Typically, they start to get a little bit quiet or they almost get a little confused in conversation. Then there's typically a little bit of beading, just of sweat on the upper lip. They start to change color. They turn green like when you had gout. And there's all the signs in the world that this is coming, and try and anticipate it so that people don't fall out of the chair. And sometimes people wake up, and the tip I would give to injectors is give them longer than you think. People, I think, are a little bit embarrassed, and being vasovagal, your mind works a little bit differently, and people are very keen to get going again. I'm fine, but they need more time.
Have you had a patient pass out twice as a result of not waiting?
No, I typically give them time. What I'll do is I'll offer them the opportunity. We have the hydraulic bed, so they lie down. So I'll just finish the procedure with them lying flat, which typically they really appreciate. A lot of people think, oh, go, get them water. And oftentimes it's no, just lay them back. It's fine. And give them the option to continue the procedure. But more often than not, you'd want to, or else they'd wake up with half a face that looks a little different than the other half.
Yeah, you can't go halfway on this for sure. Like getting half of a laser eye treatment or something. Okay, so next one's from Ella. This is a great question, actually. I like this one. How do I actually know I'm not getting diluted product when I go in for a treatment? Do clinics have to disclose that? As in, should I expect them to tell me or do I need to ask straight away? She also says, thank you for a fun show with a smiley face.
So Ella, I'm going to make the assumption you're referring to Botox or neurotoxins and dilutions. So these vials all need to be reconstituted. Typically, an injector is going to reconstitute them with 1 milliliter of saline. So some people will classify that as a dilution. That's just normal, as we need to make the toxin liquid so that it can be injected. Now, there are different levels of dilution. For instance, if you are treating migraines, we typically use 2 milliliters of saline to reconstitute a vial of Botox. And if we're treating excessive sweating or hyperhidrosis, we typically would utilize 4 milliliters of saline to reconstitute that vial. There are still the same number of Botox units, that 150 kilodalton active core toxin. It's just diluted to achieve a different effect. And to continue with the example of hyperhidrosis or excessive sweating, we are injecting it in the dermis versus the muscle, like we would typically use for the face treatments cosmetically, is we want to spread that product around. And so that quote unquote dilution is necessary to achieve the effect that we want. Now, the negative connotation of dilutions, I suspect, is in reference to filler. And there are clinics that have been caught, quote unquote, diluting filler. And so they purchase, say, one syringe from the manufacturer. And what some clinics, and again, this is a very small minority, so this would not be common practice, is they would they would take half the syringe of filler out and they would fill the other half with water. Therefore, the clinic would technically they'd be selling 2 syringes to patients, but with only half a syringe in each. That's really poor practice. And if you get caught doing that, your business is toast. So not too many people do it. So I always make sure that when I'm talking to my patients, particularly when I'm blending products, and that's becoming a bigger trend in aesthetic medicine, when you see Sculptra, Radiesse, biostimulators being blended with hyaluronic acid fillers, you're often mixing these and you're including some saline to develop a consistency to give you the result that you want to achieve. So dilution can be a strategic play by the injector to give you a really great result. But in rare cases, an injector could do shady things and use less product and dilute it with a substance like saline. So no, you should not have to ask about that. Frankly, it is within the expectation of the injector to properly lay out and explain the treatment that you're going to receive as part of a normal consent process.
That's fair. So I guess to follow the question up a little bit more, is there any rule book, any law that says that they have to disclose? If, for example, if we do use Botox as an example, we should have constituted with 1 milliliter, and instead they've reconstituted with 2. So now they're kind of trying to sell twice the amount, maybe, unless they're actually giving you twice the amount. Does that make sense? If there's supposed to be 10 units of Botox in a vial per 1 milliliter, could someone put 2 milliliters in and sell 1 vial as 20 units? And is there any law against it?
So it is the duty to disclose. And so 1 vial typically is 1 milliliter. We always classify that as 100 units because we're utilizing syringes that go by the 0.01 mLs. Hence why there's 100 units in a vial. If a client has agreed that they want, say, 30 units of Botox, and I would defer this to a lawyer for confirmation, but I think that it is at the injector's discretion on how they mix the product to achieve that effect. Because again, you're paying for fluid volume, not necessarily the actual individual units of toxin, as it's not something that's you can calculate in a clinic scenario. So overall, I think it's very reasonable for a client to just ask their injector, hey, what is your reconstitution volume, or are we diluting our fillers? There should be no issue discussing that. The only challenge could be potentially communication barriers where medical professionals are a little bit more versed in talking about this, and sometimes it can confuse people a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's a ugly, shady side maybe that that exists out there, but probably, hopefully, not that common. Okay, next question is from Kate. Talk to us about ScroTox, specifically why Tyler wants it.
Kate is such a
Very
beauty.
funny, Kate.
Yeah, very funny, Kate.
You're hilarious.
Kate has been a really great client and friend for many, many years. And I think she caught wind of our discussion out at the winery where basically everyone was hovering around us, wanting to be part of this. So you really want to do this? You want to talk ScroTox?
Tell us about it, man. I know nothing.
I would love to see your Google search bar right now. Needless to say, ScroTox is I would say, uncommon procedure request. Not something I offer out of my practice, but I get asked about it a lot, where you can utilize.
Right. That's the okay. Right. That's exactly. You wouldn't have to throw that in there if you weren't, in fact, offering this out of your practice.
I can safely say I haven't, but I do have to explain it to people. And here we go. I hope my mother isn't listening. So the scrotum, as we all know, and I'm just going to use lay people's terms here, can descend depending on temperature, age, a number of variables. And the wrinkles that are typical in a scrotum, some people prefer to have those relaxed, and utilizing Botox to a very specific muscle in that region can relax that muscle that contracts the testicles, and it can smooth out that area. Does that kind of make sense?
It's a sack smoothing procedure. I had no idea. So then, do your balls just stay swinging? Is that the other intent of this, that they stay descended?
Everyone wants what they can't have in many ways, and so having worked in the hospital for such a long time, you feel bad for old guys because everything's sagging. So some people have really saggy sacks, and these things can be tough over time. And so those people are probably wishing they could anti-tox their scrotums. Whereas the young guys, where it's all tucked up, they would love to have them swinging down and hanging low. So, you basically, people come in and they say, I know, you're so happy we're having this talk right now. I'm just so uncomfortable. People come in and they're just like, hey, will you iron on my balls, please? And I send them to a clinic across the street, and they're probably wondering why they're getting so many referrals for this procedure. Also, some people like the side effect that potentially they sweat a little bit less in that area. I assume that would be a benefit.
Yeah, no sack sweat would maybe be nice. Is that why you're going to try it? Okay, honestly, tell us what we need to do to get you to do this procedure on yourself, and give us full synopsis of every little bit of it.
Yeah, there's no chance. It's like there's no, it's never going to happen. So needless to say, this is a procedure people are more, it comes up particularly across social media because it's such a peculiar off-label. When I say off-label, it hasn't received Health Canada or FDA approval for this procedure, but it is, as with any muscle in the body, Botox can relax it. So that would be ScroTox. And so the question,
how many units does it take to iron the sack?
Typically 50 units is an average starting dose.
Whoa. Wow, people pay a fair bit for this.
But it was interesting because we had our, industry colleagues with us, and there was this hot debate amongst our female colleagues as to the preference of you're right in the thick of this. How would you describe the conflicting arguments on preference here?
I mean, I don't know how much we can say. I suppose there would be times when it would be a nuisance and times when it would be fun. I think if you were to be in certain romantic positions, there may be a benefit of of additional impact. Did I say that reasonably clean enough for the air?
Oh my gosh. I can just see.
I don't know. Maybe for we should get some follow up stuff from the listeners. Please tell us what you would prefer as a guy or as a girl and why. But I don't know. I'm kind of just shooting from the hip on this one here.
That's a diplomatic way of getting into that conversation. But it was one where there wasn't a clear winner on the outcome. I can't imagine what Pete's thinking as he's trying to edit this random Botox podcast.
Hopefully he's laughing while he's shaking his head. Okay, enough about ScroTox. Stay tuned. Now that I know what it actually is, we got to let the bets fly. And it is football season, so this could happen.
Yeah, Kate, wait. Kate is the one that brought this up. So we need to know, because she's got a huge friend group. She can just poll the audience and follow up with me in clinic. Let me know. Hanging low, dragging on the ground, or tucked neatly and tightly away?
Gorilla arms or T-Rex arms? This is perfect. All right. The last one is from Kevin because he heard us chirping him on a previous episode. He says, why did you not pick Clint? This is another friend as your first male needing treatment. He's way more wrinkly.
I mean, Kevin's not wrong. Clint is incredibly wrinkly. I saw him at the golf course a little while ago. Funny enough, and I will actually say this, and this is a change for Clint. Clint was vehemently no on any cosmetic procedure. And guess who hit me up the other day asking for an assessment and a potential forehead treatment?
I love it. Do it, Clint. Do it. Don't be shy. I mean, we'll get him on too. You get some before and afters from that guy.
It would actually probably be profitable for my business taking something that wrinkly and making it that smooth.
Get excited, Clintel. Okay, let's move on. Other uses for Botox. We've gone over a lot of these, but this one's quite a bit different again. So give us the rundown on masseter Botox. You can use this for both jaw slimming and migraine relief, which is really, really interesting. So what's up with masseter Botox?
We've probably touched on this briefly before, but it's such a common request that utilizing Botox for teeth grinding, it's a procedure I get. It's something that's super fast and virtually painless, has really great longevity, and just takes down a lot of the tension in the jaw from clenching. And so many people, whether they're studying or at work, they just don't know they're clenching. Their teeth are wearing down. They get headaches from it. There's also a little muscle, if you put your hands on the side of your heads, your temporalis muscle. It's a muscle of mastication. And so utilizing any of the neurotoxins, Xeomin, Dysport, Botox can relax those muscles. And it's really great because you function completely normally. It's not like your chewing is off. It's not like you feel any different. All of a sudden, you're just not clenching. So that night guard that you need to wear and that stress that you sometimes feel is just suddenly relieved. So amazing procedure. I would recommend it to absolutely anyone out there. Using a mouth guard is just putting a Band-Aid. You're not treating the actual problem, which is overactivation of the muscle. And to continue that on for a quick second with the slimming procedure, we've talked about slimming calves, slimming shoulders. Similarly, if you use an appropriate dose of Botox in this muscle, people that have wider muscles or in that area or wider lower faces, it can actually do some slimming, which a lot of people really, really like for the cosmetic appearance.
Mm-hmm, yeah, no doubt. Is it something that you inject just really locally at the back of the jaw there? And is it done, I guess, more similar to the rest of the face? Or is this something that you reconstitute heavier and apply more like hyperhidrosis?
Awesome question. Thanks for queuing me up with that. So we would reconstitute this with a dilution of 1:1. So that's the exact same 1 milliliter for 1 vial of toxin. Same dilution that we would utilize in the face. We want to be highly precise with this. And, the audience can't see, but you indicated actually the correct area to get the treatment is you need to stay down towards the gonial angle, which is where the mandible and mandible ramus meet, which just for people out there, it's at the back, the corner of your jaw, right below your ear. And it's really important that you have a concentrated product in that area because you don't want it to diffuse and spread and hit key smiling muscles, whether it's zygomatic major, minor, buccinator risorius, any of these ones that could really impact your smile. And I've seen it where people have either injected too far forwards or anteriorly or too far upwards and superiorly. And with the doses that we have to use, because this muscle is much stronger than a number of the muscles in the face, if you hit the wrong muscle, it's going to atrophy that muscle. So I've seen a couple of clients who have basically, they couldn't smile from one side of their mouth for over a year. Eventually they'll get it back, but some of those key smiling muscles are pretty small and sensitive to large doses. And so if you use a masseter dose, which is a larger dose, you just need to make sure that your injector stays inferior and posterior, so low and away. And you see there's some contentious debate in the industry about, oh, do you inject the product superficially or deep? There are deep and superficial attachments of this muscle. And so what I recommend my trainees to do is a retrograde linear thread. So we use a standard Botox needle, 8 millimeters, full thickness. And as you withdraw the needle, you inject your units. And I typically recommend 5 injection points to give appropriate coverage, accounting for that approximate 1 centimeter diffusion radius. You'll see people do some strange things like 1 injection point. That's simply not going to capture enough of the muscle. You know, you'll see people inject deep and then they have this superficial spasm and the superficial fibers, you can see them standing up and it looks a little peculiar. So I recommend retrograde linear threads, 5 injection sites, inferior and posterior. And for those who are listening from a technical perspective, you're going to draw your boundaries as the zygomatic process, the anterior border of the masseter muscle, mandible ramus, cross off the upper half and the anterior third of that box. And that's where you're going to place your 5 markings, is in the inferior posterior box behind.
Gotcha. Okay. Appreciate the explanation there. One last question, the one we always ask, how many units is this and a cost, and then we'll wrap.
Typically for females, you would start at 25 units per side for clenching. And for males, you're going to start at a higher dose, somewhere between 40 and 50 units per side. So I think that it's widely accepted in North America that averages for these are $10 a unit. So you're looking, to use your thing, between $800 and $1,000 for guys, and somewhere between $400 and $500 for women. Now, this just depends on muscle strength. So not so much sex, but I would say in general, males have a little bit stronger muscles. So in females, to get that slimming effect, you're typically going to go up to the male dosing, which is more like 50 units per side. The highest that I've done is 100 units per side. And that's for someone who has severe, overactivity of that muscle and true hypertrophy. So at a patient using averages for that, you're looking at $2,000. And really, it's a game-changing treatment. It saves you a whack of money on dental bills and gets rid of the headaches. So highly recommend it if you are a clencher. Don't think that the mouth guard's fixing anything. It just might be preventing your teeth from wearing down. Go see your injector and get some Botox.
Right on, man. Well, that is Botox Cowboys this week. It's actually great to be back. We couldn't do this without the partnership of True Story FM, producer Pete Wright. And Pete, now you know all about ScroTox, buddy. So I'll lay off your forehead if you'll just come in for that one. Andrew's excited about treating you.
Negative, Pete. I'm going to refer you to Dr. Robert Dale. Definitely go see Dr. Dale. He's out in White Rock, BC. He's an absolute beauty, good friend of mine, but he will gladly take care of you.
As always, hit subscribe, follow Andrew on Instagram @TheAestheticsCoach, and check us out at BotoxCowboys.com.